Hey guys, I am back with another video. If you didn't know already, my name is Amanda and this is the skin I'm in, and this is a channel like I reiterated when I relaunched my channel earlier this year, that I'm focusing on making videos that are really more true to me, true to my life, true to my experience. I've decided to kind of fall back on the makeup tutorials because I feel like at this point YouTube is so full of makeup tutorials that, I mean, if I come up with some new look that you guys like adore, I'm more than happy to do a tutorial, but I'm not going to make that a focus on my channel anymore. But the focus of this video is the second, clearly I'm having a day. It is the second video in my series about depression. And as I kind of alluded to in the end of the last video, which if you haven't seen it, check the bar below. They used to call it bottom bar, they used to call it down bar, but that's when we're talking about throwback YouTube, okay? That is where you can find the last video that I filmed regarding my experience with depression in my life before my diagnosis. So now, you know, moving into diagnosis, which diagnosis I have to put in quotes because technically I received a diagnosis, but I didn't know that I had the diagnosis for at least 2-3 years. 2 years, I guess you could say, maybe. So it started like, you know, I started being accepted into therapy centers that I had enrolled myself in, and I was receiving weekly or sometimes even multiple times a week therapy. No one had said point blank to me, you have depression, you have whatever. So technically I didn't receive that official diagnosis on paper until 2014, but before then I had actually not been told this is exactly what you have, although I was being treated for it, which is kind of like weird. I don't really understand why they just didn't come up front and tell me like, you have depression, this is what it is. So once I started receiving treatment, okay, now I'm starting to accept and legitimize for myself, like, this is what I have, this is what I'm experiencing. And just kind of like with the stages of loss, you go through lots of stages with diagnosis that include, you know, denial. You try to bargain with God or whoever you believe in. Can you take this away from me? You know, it can make you very miserable. You can cry a lot about it. And long story short, through all the stages you get to, your ultimate goal is to get to acceptance. And acceptance, I think, for people with depression is a place that you kind of bounce, at least for me, is a place that I end up bouncing in and out of a lot, because some days I'm very comfortable in, this is what I have, this is a life I experience, and then other days, you know, depending on whatever depressive cycle I'm going through, I'm very much like, sorry, I can see myself in the mirror, and it's like, hey, cutie. Other days, it can be very difficult to convince yourself like it's still okay, despite the fact that I feel very, very bad today, this week, this month. You know, last year, 2014, was a very difficult year for me, despite all the successes that I had made. It was a very, very difficult year for me. It caused me to go off of YouTube for, I think, 8 or 9 months. And so that was heartbreaking. And so you can only imagine in that long span of time trying to continue to have faith in yourself and in improving. It's a challenge. But I will say that I realized that it really is that faith in yourself that ultimately will keep you going and will push you on and push you forward. And so for me, the biggest part, this is like so run on. The biggest part of this video that I'm going to touch on is coping and how to cope with knowing that some days you don't like yourself, some days you don't feel comfortable, you don't feel pretty, you don't feel accepted, you don't feel liked, whatever. And so for me, the biggest part of acceptance, quote unquote, and coping has been, funny enough, makeup. And it's not to say that I wear makeup because I don't think I'm pretty, because you guys definitely, in case you guys don't know, if I haven't done it, I will come on here with absolutely no makeup on. I don't care. I know I'm still pretty even without makeup. We don't, like, even if somebody, you know, were to tell me you're ugly, that's your opinion. Like, you're not gonna stop me, because prior to having that kind of mentality, people who had told me I was ugly had really consumed my mind with that. I couldn't shake it. I couldn't find love in myself. I couldn't accept myself for years because a small handful of people had called me ugly. And, you know, beauty really is in the eye of the beholder. What is attractive to me may not be attractive to you, and vice versa. And so there's always somebody for everybody. If nothing else has taught you that, go to the beach this summer. I bet you'll find out. There's always somebody for everybody. Everybody. I say all of that to say that for me, makeup has been this outlet of expression. It made me realize that I am an artist. It made me redefine what an artist is. I used to tell people all the time growing up, I'm not an artist, I can't draw. And because I only limited art to the ability to paint or draw on a physical paper, I didn't understand that art can be everything from dance to music to makeup to cooking. Those are all forms of art. And the more I feel, the more forms of art you use to express yourself, the more creative your mind becomes. And so I love the fact that I do my makeup, I do my own nails, I've made my own wigs, not this, but I've made my own wigs, I cook, I dance, I find it refreshing for myself to have so many creative outlets. I think that's what everybody needs, things that make them happy, that don't have to have any specific enforced purpose or goal, that it's just whatever you want to do to make yourself happy. And so for me, makeup was a big part of that, because there were days where I was very, very depressed, that I was contemplating suicide, that I would sit down. Can I see my own shadow? So crazy. I'm looking at the shadow on the stairs. There were days where I was very depressed and, some days even suicidal. And for me, a wonderful coping mechanism was to sit there and just paint my face. And I really started to learn the skills of makeup artistry through just sitting there and painting my face. And so it may not be that for you, but that is why I'm on YouTube, and that is how I have coped with the difficulties of feeling bad about yourself. And I was really so surprised, realized once I was good at makeup, I could really do makeup. I would take the makeup off, and I still liked the face underneath. And that was such a monumental moment for me, that I could look at my face with dark circles and bumps and blotches and no fancy eyes and even no wig, just bare Amanda. And I still liked what I was looking at. And that's a big part of self-love and self-acceptance that most people don't talk about, specifically on the YouTube platform, enough, in my opinion, about how to use this tool of glamming yourself up, of putting this accessory on your face to make yourself a little bit different, and how it really can make you realize that some of the features you want to play up, a lot of them are already there anyway, and that playing them up is more about shadowing and highlighting and bringing more light to these things than making them appear. It's funny, I actually contoured my nose today, and I never contour my nose. I don't see the point. For me, I think my nose looks perfectly fine uncontoured. And I mean, it looks cute, but I don't think it's so important that I would do this every day for me. And for other people, that is not the case, and that's okay. But it's about learning to love and accept yourself. I think that's a big part of it. And once you do that, life is so much easier. And so that was part 2. It was definitely longer than the first part. I had a lot of crap to say. Probably might have to edit this one, but we're gonna figure it out. And with that being said, please be on the lookout for the next video. Thank you so much.